Welcome to the monthly portfolio updates. This is a high-level overview from our AI and modern work portfolio. Please ask any questions in the Q&A section. If you're joining the call today, the presentation will be sent to you. It will be emailed to you as well as a recording of the webinar. So I'll share information at the end as to how you can get in touch. But yeah, we do this every month, and this is a high-level overview of all the news that's happened over the past month. So giving you a concise view as to what you should be aware of. My name is David Campbell. I'm the product manager for AI and modern work at Wavenet. It's an area that's been incredibly exciting over the past 2 years with the mass availability and constant improvement in generative AI and Microsoft's adoption of that. So while I think most IT providers have been rightfully focused on security in the past few decades, I'm really excited to be part of a team that's now looking at a transformative technology space. So it's an area I'm truly passionate about. You'll see on the bottom right there, I've recently achieved the Microsoft certification in AI transformation. So it's an area that we deeply invested in at Wavenet. I've also put a QR code there for my LinkedIn profile. I write a weekly newsletter, opinion-based newsletter on LinkedIn that complements our newsletters that we do on our website. So today I'm covering Microsoft updates. As I said, it's a summary of what's happened over the month. So it will be fairly fast-paced. We won't go into anything in any detail. I'm going to be talking about the product updates because what we're seeing with the introduction of Copilot is most of the products that come with the M365 ecosystem are additionally receiving updates as we go. We then are going to be introducing guest speakers that we've got today. We've got our partners from Bespoke XYZ, and we're going to be talking about the Microsoft ecosystem, Power Apps, agentic AI, and how we are winning in the AI automation and integration space. And then hopefully we've got some time at the end for some Q&A, but I've also got my colleague James who's standing by, and he'll be answering any questions in the back. So firstly, just to kick off with Microsoft's updates, Microsoft have just released their 2026 Work Trend Index report. To give you an idea, they normally interview 30,000 people to get this trend report. This year, they've interviewed 20,000, but they focus specifically on people that are using AI at work and what those trends are. They complement the interviews with the 20,000 people with trillions of anonymized Microsoft 365 productivity signals, and it's across 10 different countries. So this report pretty much defines how the MSP industry looks at trends and how we define what we go to market with. So it is pretty much one of the primary reports that we use for trending and how we use that to build our support service. So if you don't have access to this, just reach out and we'll send this report to you. If you read any document this year for trend analysis, this is the one I'd read. An important update happening in July is that SQL Server 2016 reaches its end of extended support. You will still be able to buy extended security updates for up to 3 years. But this will give you critical security updates only. So it's meant as a temporary bridge, not a long-term solution. We would highly recommend you look at upgrading to a supported version or migrating to Azure SQL or Azure VM. You should be using the extended supported updates only while you're busy transitioning. Another key change that happened early this month is the introduction of extended service terms. You might hear it called EST. What that means is when you buy your licenses with a 1-year commit, the options you had after that year subscription ended was either to auto-renew, which was what majority of people did, or not to auto-renew. And when you selected not auto-renew, what that meant was you would go into a period of 30 days grace. And Microsoft would let you in that 30 days of grace because they were assuming you were looking at reestablishing what you were doing with your new subscription terms. Microsoft has now changed that now. So you either have the option of auto-renew, which remains as is, then you have cancel, which means that you no longer have that 30-day grace period. It means that your service will stop at that expiry date, which means you will not be able to bring that license back up again. The third option that is available is something called EST. That is a month-to-month subscription until you sign another annual contract. Bear in mind, the annual commit saves you around 20%. So you are going to go into a month-to-month pricing SKU, which is about a 20% uplift. There's also what we're calling a procrastination tax of 3%. That's the cost of EST. So EST is not something we're offering customers by default, only in selected situations where there genuinely is a need to pause licensing for a period of time and pay month to month. We will use that as an option with a 23% price increase. July is also seeing an increase in Microsoft pricing. If we look here, these are the enterprise suite offerings. And what's noticeable to see here is Microsoft offered their suites with Teams and without Teams when there was a period where they needed to comply with EU monopoly regulations. So they had to offer 365 without Teams as an option. We can see here by the price difference without Team, jumping 14, 10, 11% as opposed to 13, 8, 8. It looks to me that Microsoft is trying to make the without Teams price economically unviable and moving everyone back to the with Teams options now that that's available. So if you have your subscription without Teams and then you're buying Teams as an add-on, you should be considering changing your bundle to the with Teams bundle and not having that increase. Here are the major changes. So if you have frontline SKUs, you're seeing significant price increases, 29 to 43% increases in your costs. So if you have these SKUs and you have a renewal coming in after July, stick around. I'm going to be telling you how you can put off the saving for up to a year. Sorry, put off this increase for up to a year. On the business suite SKUs, we're seeing the same trend without Teams bundles and with Teams. So if you're buying them separately, you should be moving across. What is noticeable here is that Business Premium is not receiving an increase. So if you are still on Business Standard and you're considering moving to Premium, you now have another 12% reason to consider that as the price difference between the two. What I would also suggest is looking at the Business Premium with Copilot SKU that's come out. There's also the Business Standard with Copilot SKU as well. And that bundle is significantly cheaper than buying individually. So buying 365 and then buying a Copilot license on top of it. We're also seeing some standalone suites with substantial increases as well. And what's interesting is some of these units have come up in price and there is no additional features on top of that. So that's just a price increase that's come across that. So what can you do with the price increases coming in 1st of July? Firstly, we offer something called a Streamline 365 Health Check. And really, this is a licensing optimization service that Wavenet offers. It's completely free of charge. So if this is something you'd find interested, we will send you a link that a global administrator will need to click on, giving us read-only access. And using this, we will help you optimize your licensing estate. So we'll make sure that you don't have any zombie accounts and make sure that you're licensed effectively. And if you can do some cleanup with that before July, that would be optimal for you so that you're not paying an increase on licensing you don't need. We see some pretty big savings here. On the M365, it's normally around 5 to 7% saving we see. On the Azure side, it's up to 30% saving. So it can give you some pretty significant saving, and this is a free of charge service, whether or not you have your Microsoft licensing with us. I've mentioned before about the with Copilot options of bundling. So if you are looking at Copilot, look at those bundle offerings. There's still some significant savings coming before the end of June with price bundles, 25 to 35% saving if you buy premium or standard with Copilot. So if you're considering Copilot, buy at least one license before the end of June because you can add on to that subscription throughout the year and you'll take advantage of that price saving. If you can renew before the 1st of July, good time to do it because this will give you another year before you have to be concerned about the price increase, and this will give you some time to plan for it. A lot of the e-plans we're seeing are now coming with 3-year SKUs. So if you are considering standardizing on a SKU, this might be a good time to buy 3-year SKUs because of the fact you'll lock in that price for the full 3-year term. A cheat code that we've come across that's working with customers is you can buy a single license of your main SKU before the end of June. So if you've got a subscription renewal coming up in August or October, and you standardize on E3, what we would suggest is buying a single E3 license before end of June. And the trick that you do is you set your subscription coming up in August, October to cancel, and you add those licenses onto the subscription that you buy now. This is a way of delaying the price increase, and it can actually save you quite a significant amount of money, especially if you heavily invested in the Microsoft stack. So reach out to us if you want to find out how to do this and how this would apply, and we can show you the business case of doing it. This will give you some easy saving with a little bit of administration. So E7 is now generally available. The concept of E7 is it's the E5 SKU with the Entra Suite with Microsoft 365 bundled in for all users, as well as the Microsoft Agent 365 SKU. It's bundled in at $100 per user. It's now Microsoft making the assumption that we're moving to a world where all users have Copilot and need to manage them. This was a really nice slide that I came across, which spoke around the enterprise SKUs and where the best fit were. We'll include this in the email that goes out to you afterwards. But really, E3 is seen as their base level. This is where we give employees the tool to work. E3 is when we're looking at base security and we're managing users and devices and data consistently. E5 is when we're looking at running the business securely, and E7 is when we're moving from e-pilots to execution. We're now looking at becoming a frontier firm, and you'll hear that a lot from Microsoft now, talking about frontier firms, and these are firms that are heavily invested in the AI model. So Agent 365 is now seen as the control plane for agents. This is how you will manage agents, what they have access to, and what data they are surfacing. What's important to know with this model is that Microsoft has introduced that an agent can become a licensed user within your organization. And that's quite a compelling change in how licensing works. The ruling is if the agent does something that a human would do, then it needs to be licensed. So we're coming into a world where AI agents are going to need full Microsoft licensing. There are some promotions running now. As you can see, they're 15% off the 3-year term. So if you are looking at investing with Microsoft beyond the 1-year commit, there are some SKUs coming up with a 3-year commit, which means your license price stays stagnant for 3 years. There's also some other savings at adoption. We're going to see Microsoft's new year kicking in July. So we're expecting a lot more promotions to come out after that. But there are still quite a few promotions running until end of June that you should take advantage of. So from a product perspective, most of the product SKUs within the M365 SKU have had some significant updates over the last month. One of the ones that I really like using now, probably one of the early benefits people get from rolling out the Copilot license, is meeting summaries. You know, since COVID, we've found ourselves in back-to-back meetings most of the time. And, you know, the ability to take notes from our transcription and email summaries has been probably a savior for most of us. But what you can now do is, rather than waiting that period for a transcription to come live, you can actually just type in a prompt, send an email with the meeting notes. And that works out quite well. It's something I do several times per day now. It transcribes the meeting and the summary. And down the bottom of it, you'll see you can edit it in Outlook, and it comes up with a message in Outlook that's pretty nicely formatted, and it gives you your summary and meeting. So that's something you can do straight at the end of a meeting and send it to all users after you've edited it. So a really nice trick that I've been using, and I'm pretty sure most of you will find value out of that. Microsoft Word has also received some agentic abilities. You will see the Copilot used to say things like agent, using the agent in Copilot. Now that's changed to edit. A big one that came out was the legal agent in Microsoft Word. Most of us at some point probably have to work with some legal contracts or documents. We now have an agent that handles that. So this is going to become quite a useful agent for a lot of our Copilot usage. And more we're starting to see the benefits of the paid-for license for Copilot. Whereas when it first came out, it was maybe lagging with the other LLMs. We're now starting to see a multimodal approach with embedded integration in our apps that are starting to become more and more valuable and more comparable to some of the other AI learning models. We're starting to see that you're able to do things within the application of Word. So generating things on brand inside the Word documents. And that on brand is key, because what we're seeing in PowerPoint was the ability that we couldn't get things on brand. And that was quite tricky, because most of us have branding guidelines for Copilot, for PowerPoint. So that's something that we're starting to see with the agentic abilities within Copilot now. It is brand kit aware. It's powered by WorkIQ, so it understands your files, your meetings, your SharePoint. And bear in mind, this is only available within the paid-for Copilot license. It's not available in the free licensing tier. There's also some improvements within image creation. You can do things like image upscaling and also create AI images within your PowerPoint platform. This is a short video that I'll show you basically how that works. So you can now create a new slide within a branded document. You can describe what you want. It'll ask you a series of questions, and you're able to create a slide that does just that. It's also pulling information from various sources and then pulls together a nice branded slide based on your brand. So this is a pretty nice feature within PowerPoint, and I'm sure a lot of us have to do PowerPoint presentations. Excel is receiving massive upgrades and it's becoming a really useful tool. Excel has always been one of the primary reasons that Microsoft has dominated the work app space over the last 30 years, and Excel has been one of the key reasons for that. We are planning on hosting a dedicated webinar just for Copilot in Excel, because we realize how important this application is for many of our users. So again, you're allowed to edit and plan with Copilot in Excel. Now you're able to do multi-steps, whereas before the chat interface in Excel would be telling you more things like how to do it. Now you're able to get it to do it. So the ability to create pivot tables, to create charts, to show you its planning while it does it before it executes is becoming quite key now. So analyzing documents, carrying out the steps to review changes and iterate inputs as they work through. You've got OpenAI and Anthropic models available to you now. So some very compelling updates within Excel. If you haven't used Copilot in Excel for a while, I suggest you make some changes. Great at adding columns, great at adding formulas, very useful there. Within Outlook, you can do some more intelligent things within Outlook now. You can help with follow-ups, people that haven't replied to your mails in the last 24 hours, for example. You can surface that. You can get it to draft updates based on a project folder that you're working on. You can use this to prioritize mails after a long break or vacation. So there's a number of things you can do within Outlook now that's becoming quite compelling. One of the areas that I've really been enjoying working with is calendars. So this short little video will show you an example where it's searching all the meetings that are related to one area and helping you find a one-on-one time available in your calendar to book that. One of the areas that I've been finding this quite useful for is I travel quite a bit on train. So I get the email with the train itinerary, and I've got a prompt now where I can turn the itinerary into a calendar booking with one prompt where it books out my travel time in my diary. And so that's something I do regularly. I do it several times per week. So that's a use case that you might find quite useful. You now have the Claude Opus available to you inside chat. It may not be available to all users. In fact, you'll find that the majority of UK tenants have not got Claude available to it. That needs to be enabled within the admin center. I'll show you how to do that a bit later on. The EU was a bit late to accept Claude as part of the model. It was released in America first, and it's the frontier firms that are getting the early access. But you'll start seeing this becoming more and more available. If you're an administrator or a tenant, you can actually allow this if it's available to you now. Copilot Notebook has had some upgrades. Trying to, I'm a regular user of Notebook LN within Gemini. I've always felt that Microsoft hasn't had a solution to compete with that. So I've had to use tools from outside of the Microsoft ecosystem. Microsoft has done updates within its Notebook section to be more competitive in that space. And that would include things like infographics, which I'm sure you're seeing tons of these floating around now. In my opinion, its infographics is not quite at the level of Gemini yet, but it is catching up. And that's positive news, which means that within our ecosystem, without multiple subscriptions, we will be able to see a competitive solution within the Copilot SKU. Something I was really excited to see, but noticed that it wasn't available for us yet. It was released in the US first, is the OneNote iPhone app upgrade, which allows transcription on your phone. So while we've all heavily relied on meeting transcriptions in Teams meetings, the one area we've had to use third-party software for is in-person meetings. OneNote's iPhone app will solve that problem, where we're able to record from our phone and get a transcription, which I'm sure is going to be invaluable to anybody having in-person meetings. An important hub that's had an update is the Microsoft Adoption Hub. It's had a major overhaul, so there's a lot more content in there that'll help you if adopting Copilot is a part of your role within your organization. A lot of training for AI users, AI champions, as well as AI leaders. So yeah, really good hub to do that. If you want to outsource Copilot adoption, we have a product called Copilot Launchpad, and that's a service that we offer. It's productized that we can help you get started from a leadership perspective on how to drive Copilot adoption within your organization. The Agent Builder has received quite a lot of upgrades as well. So it's got its own dedicated section within the Microsoft Learn portal. So you're able to get some learning within Agent 365, Copilot Studio, and Microsoft Foundry. You would need to, if you're planning on, if you're not seeing these frontier services or Claude within your admin tenant, I would suggest going into your admin center under Copilot. In the settings section there's an area where you can allow early access and preview experiences and being part of that Copilot Frontier firm. Then you'll get the latest updates as they're coming out. You also allowed to select now which users can use the Anthropic models within Copilot. So that's a setting within your admin center that you can use. We're also starting to see within the Agentic Builder, we're starting to see templates coming out. So this is quite useful if you're trying to get an idea of what Agent Builder can be used for as far as templates go. So just click on the template section and you'll see a few examples of what you can use. Scheduled prompts receive an upgrade as well. So you can, for example, schedule a prompt to go off at 8 o'clock in the morning, summarize your email, summarize the news for the day, and deliver an email to you with the latest updates. That's something you can schedule now, which will help with a lot of the automation work that we need to do. The whole Agent Builder experience has had an upgrade. So if you're building agents in the Agent Builder, you'll see a fair amount of updates there and how that's all working together. The other big announcement was connectors. So there's a number of third-party vendors now that have built-in connectors that you can use as sources as part of your agentic model. So for example, if you're using HubSpot, you can now use a connector from HubSpot into your Copilot, which means you'll be able to access data from HubSpot into Copilot Chat if it's enabled. This is only available to Frontier firms at the moment. Those are those that have opted in for the Frontier experience. They have a Shadow AI agent as well, which will allow you to pick up when Shadow AI is being used within your organization. So just some other news that's come out from some of the other vendors is this is something we've been quite concerned about within the security space. Google detected its first AI-built zero-day exploit. So it's not just AI is not just being used for productivity and automation within business, it's being used by nefarious actors. So that's a concern. We're starting to see better drafted emails that are harder to spot as far as spoofing emails goes. So look out for solutions that can help your users detect emails. It's going to be harder to do those typical spelling mistakes and language errors that we saw, which were dead giveaways, are starting to fall away. The other big one, of course, that we're keeping a lot of eyes on is Mythos. So for those that don't know about Mythos, this was a tooling that Claude brought out, which exposed vulnerabilities in most of the applications that it found. it was so powerful and would be seen for nefarious use so readily that Claude pulled it from availability, and they've now released it to a series of a short list of companies to use Mythos for prevention and security enablement before it's released to the general public. So we're keeping a very close eye on that. The other one is co-work. This is revolutionary for those who've played with it as well. I won't go too much into it in this session because most of the UK tenants haven't rolled out co-work yet. But this is where Microsoft Copilot has partnered with Anthropic to allow Claude into its environment, which means you're getting the benefits of multiple AI models within Copilot. And that's how Microsoft's setting itself up differently. So I'm now going to stop this presentation and introduce a colleague of mine, Evan. He should be available. Let's just check. Sharing. Hi, Evan. How are you doing? Good morning.
Morning, David. How are you?
Yeah, great, thanks. So just to introduce you, Evan is with a company called Bespoke XYZ. They've been helping us transition from some of our early AI programs when we start looking at automation and agentic AI as part of our partnership. So he was supposed to be joined by a colleague who's running a bit late. So Evan, I believe you've got a video stand-in that you can share with us if you want to share your screen.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. And I'm gathering you can see that.
Yes, let's just check it's got sound.
Don't believe it does. Sorry, technical issues.
Just share it with sound.
There we go. Perfect.
Hello, my name's Andrew. I am the CTO at Bespoke. I'm also the managing director of a company called WeChange.ai that specializes in technology adoption. One of the main things we do as part of the workshops working with customers across the UK, whether it's a Copilot workshop or a funded workshop, we support customers to understand how they can get more from the products that they've got. So that might be Power Platform, it might be using Copilot properly. Because what frequently happens is people invest significant sums in other systems without realizing that they've actually got something that could do exactly the same thing they've already paid for. So I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the apps that you have as part of your licensing. Now, there's going to be a bit of nuance in this, but almost all of these, I can guarantee you'll have at least 95% of them you're going to have. So on the page now, this is part from the browser. So if you go to Edge or Chrome, whichever one you use, and go to office.com or m365copilot.com, this is the page you'll see. And this is Copilot. And I will come back to this one because as part of your package, there's the obvious things like Calendar, which people are familiar with. You'll also be familiar with Outlook because that is the one that everyone seems to know about. Then you've got Word, which has been used for many years. Are you aware that you can all work together on it, to collaborate on it, to create tasks for other people as part of it? You'll have PowerPoint, obviously, for creating documentation. And I've got the work trend index here from Microsoft, which is a really good read if you've not read it. Then there's Microsoft Teams. Most organizations are collaborating within Microsoft Teams, and this is all a demo environment, so there's nothing to worry about in terms of what you can see. Most organizations are on SharePoint, so they know that within SharePoint, they've got their documentation, they've set up SharePoint in a way that is most suited to them. But are organizations aware that SharePoint sits behind Teams? Are people aware that SharePoint and Copilot are very close? And the more you can get SharePoint set up for AI success, the more likely you are to see adoption work in the way that you're hoping, and that return on investment around products. Again, most people are aware that OneDrive is here and that you can be utilizing this for your document storages. But do everyone know that you can be shortcutting SharePoint sites to make it easier to navigate? Do people know that you can go to the shared section to look at what's been shared with you or by you? There's all these small features and different ways of working. And then even within products, there's nuances. So within Microsoft Teams, there's apps within the app itself. So within Teams, you've got things like the Meet app, which if you've never tried it, can change your life. You can go 3 dots, go to Meet, and then it's this app. And this is a demo environment, so it's not showing a huge amount. But if you live and breathe Microsoft Teams meetings, this is going to show you all the details and all the information from those meetings. You also have something called the Approvals app within Microsoft Teams, which has had a bit of a renaissance of late because you can trigger approvals using agent workflows. So the approvals are actions or from within lists. And these are ways of getting approval for something to be signed off, for people to look at the document, or for a decision to be made. And this can be integrated into the way that you work as an organization. It doesn't have to be a standalone thing. Further, you have a shift management app within Microsoft Teams. If you manage shifts for a service, it might be IT help desk. If I go to 3 dots and then shifts is a really powerful shift management app. And this highlights for me one of the big things that's changed over time with Microsoft, things like clocking in, top right, or if I go to settings here, we can actually manage the timesheets of people. You can manage the time for services. So rather than having this as part of another system or something that you've created, these are features that have been added and are coming through. And we can see these little preview features that Microsoft are introducing, manage team member balances. And that is just part of an app that you've got. You have bookings, which enables you to do personal bookings pages. So that might be getting a page booked. So someone can have the link, they can book time with you, or you can manage an externally facing page on your website or wherever you want to share it, where people can book your services. So this is frequently used in public sector organizations that we work with for things like handy people services, midwifery services. There's all sorts of ways that bookings can be used. And just to re-emphasize, you have all of this. Like, I've not shown anything that you will not have. You have a video editing tool called Clipchamp. Within Clipchamp, you can do audio, you can do AI voiceovers, which and it can do transcripts for you. You can edit it. You can add music. You can add the usual editing features that you'd like. So you can create professional videos using Copilot, using Clipchamp itself. You have a digital communities platform called Viva Engage for organizations with 20 plus staff. This is worth considering because you will have a separate space for people to go and collaborate, which from a change in adoption perspective is incredibly powerful because it means that you don't have to have people worrying about whether they should be sharing information on Teams. Going beyond this, you have Microsoft Forms. So within Microsoft Forms, you can have information that is captured about certain things. So I've got an example here, an event registration form where people would be able to submit to attend an event. And these are all just the templates within it. You can then link this to other products, which is an important point about the Microsoft ecosystem. It's not just one thing. It is a collection of applications that work together and enable you to do significantly more. And you can have forms connected to a SharePoint list, and that SharePoint list could have a Power BI report over the top of it. If all of this is making sense or not making sense, just be aware that these are things that you as an organization have paid for. And one of the main ways that we help is trying to ensure that organizations get the most from these services. This is Viva Insights. So Viva Insights came out around the COVID time. Within here, you can send praise. You can manage your working world. So if you want to have it, so you've got your work week set up, if you want to send a praise reminder, if you want to protect time in your diary, you can change it so that it has regular lunch times. You can configure your Microsoft Teams meetings to start a different pattern. So you might set it so they always start with 5 minutes left at the end. But this is Viva Insights. Another one that you've got. You have Viva Learning. Viva Learning is a learning platform. It is not a learning management system, but you can go on to Viva Learning and you might want to get some more tuition on, let's say, Loop. And Loop is going to then come up and you'd be able to learn about Loop. If you've never used Loop, Loop is an increasingly important app to help you understand and share information across your organization. Little known app called Learning Activities that came out over Christmas. So this would enable you to create small interactive sessions. So this one, as a really simple example, is explaining the different products that are available from Microsoft. We have lists. So lists is a very powerful tool. This view, lists, is actually built on SharePoint lists. So you might be familiar with SharePoint lists. You can connect these up to your agents. You can connect them up to forms, as I've mentioned. You can create apps off the back of them. Now, lists are, again, as everything I've shown, it's all part of your package. You can be using these applications to do incredible things in your organization. It might be that you've decided to create a risk management list, and this could have your priorities, your obviously status. You can assign them to people. You can track them. What's a little known thing about lists is you could easily create a automation that takes the information into your list from a shared mailbox. If you have Copilot, that shared mailbox and the list could then trigger responses using Copilot. So List is another one that you have. You have Loop. So I mentioned Loop briefly. Loop is a platform. It's been around for about 3 years now, maybe 4 years, and you can share information on here. And when you share the Loop component, this is going to be a live view of the information that you're sharing. So here as an example, we've got project planning, and this has got a table on here for roles, background. These are all just templates that you can create. So if I create a new page, I might want to do a project brief, and then we have the information in here that we could share. If I shared this with a colleague over Teams, we would all be able to input information to it live. And this has become increasingly important because when you create a meeting now in Microsoft Teams, at the bottom, you have the option to add a Loop component, which is the agenda for the meeting, and that lives in Loop. So if you have a full Copilot license, you'll have probably spotted that it creates Loop components. And all of these pop up in your meeting notes on the side, but this is a demo account, so it doesn't have any. You have OneNote. Now, OneNote for some has been written off, but OneNote is going to definitely have a resurgence because there was a feature added in the last 6 weeks, which shows your notebooks. And your notebooks from an AI perspective are collections of information that you can work to and return to. So the notebooks are certainly going to be something that we have to work with over the coming years. With notebooks, you have pages, and the pages are Loop components. So hopefully you can see how this is all starting to work together. Another application that people often haven't spotted is Planner. So Planner is where you can manage projects. So if I go into this fake project that we've set up, which is summer event project planning, and it's going to make me restart the page. So if I go into, let's go into summer event planning. So Planner enables you to create Kanban boards, lists, grids of tasks. And what is important, these tasks will cascade down into your to-do app, which is your personal view of the applications that you've got. I might want to look at it as a Kanban board. I might want to move these tasks around. For a project management tool, it is excellent. If you ever used Microsoft Project was rebranded as Planner Premium. And Planner Premium is absolutely this, and you get some additional features if you have Planner Premium. For those with Copilot, there is an agent called Planner Agent, which is phenomenal. Planner Agent will enable you to take any planning document and it will create a plan for you. It will track tasks. It will check with people if things have been done. It is genuinely brilliant, and it changes the way people do task management. You have Power Apps. So Power Apps is a bit, from a licensing perspective, can be slightly confusing because there's an assumption that you will need a license for everything. Where you need a license is whether you're going to share the app externally or you're going to use a different data source. If you create a Power App with a SharePoint list or something called Teams Dataverse that people aren't aware of, you can use Power Apps with your existing licenses and you can create fairly comprehensive apps. So as an example, this is the work tracker app that we created. This took literally 30 seconds. I took a list and I asked it to create one. And I could share this on any other platform. I could share it via Microsoft Teams, via an app. If you have frontline workers or staff out in the field, you could share this on their phone. As long as they are internal, this would work. And all the data would then come back into the SharePoint list. We as Bespoke, this is our specialist area, like Power Platform, agents, analytics, anything like this. We are one of the leaders in the country, if not the leader. Another one that people haven't seen generally is Power Automate. This has been around for maybe 11 years now. Power Automate creates workflows, and these workflows are effectively automations. there's thousands and thousands and thousands of templates, and the templates enable you to do simple stuff like if I get an Outlook with an attachment, save it in my OneDrive. You might have invoices that come in and you want those invoices to have the information extracted from it. And there are actual setups for this. So within the AI hub on the left-hand side, there are document processing flows that you can utilize. Once this loads, you'll see organizations have been using this for a long time. And if we go back 10 years, actually extracting it and teaching it to learn things like an invoice was quite a complicated process. Whereas now we can simply show it the documentation and say, you're looking for invoice number, and that's the bit we want to extract, and the other details related to that. So Power Automate is a very, very powerful tool, and it works alongside all of the other applications we've shown. Power BI might not be in your licensing, but Power BI enables you to visualize data. So this is just an example from one of the companies we work with, WeChange.ai, that I own, and you can visualize the information that you have as an organization. If you have your Copilot license, if you have a Fabric deployment, you can do a lot more with AI. But this comes down to some of the nuances around Microsoft licensing. And if you understand it in the way that we do, we can really support you to get the most from what you've already paid for. Another niche app, as I go through this A to Z of applications, you have Sway. So Sway, you can create, I'd say they're somewhere between a presentation in PowerPoint and a website. You could then share this externally. It is niche. Not everyone needs Sway, but you can create these little interactive pages that share information with people. You have your to-do list. To-do is your task management list. So this is where you can manage the tasks that you're doing. Most people are familiar with this one, but there are still some stragglers out there that don't know. If you have tasks assigned to you in Planner, they will cascade down into here. So then you will have the tasks that you can undertake. But to-do is your personalized to-do list. You have Whiteboard for collaborating with others on information. And in this demo, I've actually put a loop component so you can have live information from other sources shared on here. If you want to do a collaborative planning session, you could use Whiteboard. You can share the access to this with as many people as you want, and then they will be able to also work in the Whiteboard. And then Copilot. So Copilot, it is the hot topic. I've had this since September 2023, so this is just entirely normal to me. But as an organization, are you using your custom instructions? So personalization, edit custom instructions, always use UK spelling, avoid M dashes. If you do not have custom instructions on, please set them, because it's going to drive you mad with some of the things that it does. Are you aware that you can have your prompts saved? So I can go into your prompts. And there's a new feature that's just coming out at the moment where you can have your organization's prompt library. Did you know as part of using Copilot, you also get Create? If you want to create an image or a video or anything that it's got the listed across the top, you can create these and it falls under the Microsoft copyright commitment. So you're able to utilize these videos and these images without the fear of being sued. One that is definitely worth a look at is this create a story feature. This will create a series of amazing images that show and explain something. So it might be that you've got a new process. It might be that you're trying to explain something to a colleague or a customer. You can use the create a story function. And last, but by absolutely no means least, agents. So these agents, even within Copilot Chat, so the unlicensed one, but I'd highly recommend buying the licenses because some of the agents that have come through from Microsoft are, I mean, CoWork, we have CoWork is, I would not work somewhere without CoWork now because it literally does jobs for me while I'm doing other things. This is the agent builder that you can use within the existing license. So if you build an agent that is web-based, so it's using assets online, this is an example that we built, HR guidance agent, and it has HR websites related to it. I could give it this fake email from a fake person called Alex, and this is going to use real guidance to draft responses. This was a 2-minute job. It's easy. Creating powerful agents that can respond to things. Where it gets more complicated and where organizations like ours get commissioned is when we build agents that need to integrate with other services. So it might be an agent that lives in a learning management system. It might be an agent that integrates across different platforms. That's where it gets more complicated because you use something called Copilot Studio. But to build something really basic like this, It's quick, it's easy. So you have tons of applications. If you'd like to see them all, you can go to more apps, and then you can go to all apps. So office.com, more apps, all apps, and you can have a look at the apps that you've paid for as an organization. And as part of our workshops, we spend time ensuring that everything that all the features that you could be using and want to use are enabled and used in the right way, because you are paying so much money for this stuff. Let's make sure you get the value from it, and then let's look at the further opportunities you have with technology. Thank you.
Great. Hopefully that video was informative. Just one last thing I want to just share before I hand over to Evan to talk about how we can work together. This is quite a nice slide that I think highlights the progression for customers that aren't quite sure how this all fits together now. So there's the Copilot chat element.
Sorry, David, we can't see your screen.
Sorry about that. Thank you. So this kind of talks about progression and how you can kind of build your way through the graduation from individuals using Copilot to organizational use of Copilot. When it comes to Copilot chat, we help you here by having our monthly 101 Copilot webinar. It's a free webinar we do every month, and we do some training on how to use the free version of Copilot. Then when you progress to the M365 version of Copilot, we have a service called Copilot Launchpad, which is designed to bring your leadership aligned with training your champions and getting you started with M365 in a secure and structured way. So ask us about Copilot Launchpad if you're at this stage in your journey. When the next stage is when we have a product called Agent and 8 that will be rebranded to Agent Launchpad shortly. And this is when we work with Bespoke. This is when we engage with you to help you build agents, firstly ones that you can do yourself, and then when you need to start integrating with other applications, you'd start using the agent side of things. Copilot Co-work, and then again, when you're moving to the right of this is when we'll start partnering with our partners Bespoke, and we'll bring you into those engagements. So with that said, Evan, I'm going to hand over to you. I don't know if you want me to share the slides or if you want to do it.
Yeah, we have been graced with Andrew's presence, our CTO, his lovely voice you heard on the video. So if you could just share the slides of the envisioning workshop, and then I'm sure Andrew can walk us through.
No problem. All right, let's make sure that I'm sharing them properly then.
Right, so I told you, I'm sorry I was late. I was on a national AI community about something else. I just got double booked. So there's no gracing of presence, but I am pleased to see everyone. So my background, I worked at Microsoft for 4 years, and before that public sector, and then engineering as well. But one of the reasons these workshops work so brilliantly is there's, as we showed in the video, there's so many solutions that you've got, and it can be quite confusing, like looking at what do we look at. And we work really closely with Wavenet on let's make sure that based on the licensing packages this customer's got, how can we help with value? How can we help you with the development of apps, with it, Power Automate flows? And on this slide, there's loads of logos. All of these overlap, and it's getting more interesting as the new features come through. So if you take the release that's just coming out at the moment, Copilot will automatically have access to your Power BI reports. Now, for those that have stayed close to this, you'll know that Power BI Copilot has been around for a little while if you have Fabric. But the nuances of how you can work and the transformation opportunities that are upon us is just phenomenal. The other questions that we get frequently are, when do we move through to Azure AI Foundry? When do we use Copilot Studio? When do we use full fat Copilot? When do we use Agent Builder? Or when do we just use Copilot Chat? It's confusing, and it's a changing picture all the time. So when we do these workshops, we meet with customers, generally in person, and we spend a few hours going through where you are, what the opportunities are. We talk through the different use cases that you have and try and localize the examples of how we can be using tech. Generally, we end up building some stuff on the day. So we might say, well, this is the use case you've got. Let's build the HR agent. Let's build the automation in the back end. Let's get some adaptive cards flowing into team sites that prompt decision makers using approvals. But all of these things can be achieved using the packages and the solutions you've got. If you look at them all up, it's a bit like Lego. I don't know if we get any thumbs up for Lego. Big Lego fan. I've got kids that are massively into Lego now, which is amazing. But you have Lego kits that can be pieced together to create incredible structures for your organization, but they're all going to look slightly different. And we use the workshops as a way of unpacking that, ensuring you have the guardrails around your new beautiful Lego building that means you're safe and compliant, and set you up for success with the ever evolving world of digital. If you've not had a look at some of the agents that are about to come out, Copilot Co-work is going to change the way that organizations work fundamentally. And that is a huge statement to make, but we've had it for a while as a frontier firm. And Copilot Co-work, at the end of a meeting, if you've set it up correctly, Co-work asks, do you want me to do these tasks for you? And if you've got your infrastructure set up correctly, if it's got the knowledge bases, if you have the metadata attributed to your SharePoint sites, you're giving it enough context that it can genuinely help you. And I have our use of Co-work to a point now where it's writing data privacy impact assessments, it's doing bids, it's producing documentation that would have normally taken me several hours to do first time, because we've set it up in a way that enables that. Co-work is just another example of an agent that's coming through at pace that is going to change how we work. But we can support with these workshops on helping you to understand where you need to be. And obviously we work with Wavenet on things like Purview, security. They're the experts in that space. We can help with the apps and the automation side. Just on a bit of a brain dump there. Was that what you wanted? Should I talk through this bit?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so when we start trying to work out what you're looking to do, it's really, really, really useful to understand the different, what are you trying to achieve? So all the organizations we work with are often in different positions. Some might not have even done their SharePoint migration. We do get the odd one that's still on file shares. So we need to discover and understand where you are. What are you trying to achieve with tech? What licenses have you got? Where do you want to be? We can then map the processes. Now, when we map the processes, we do get support from AI. So if you've not had to go with AI process mapping yet, it is phenomenal. So if you can have, we tend to have facilitator agent running. If we're in person, we still have it running, because if you've not spotted, you can have facilitator agent running on your phone. That's then taking the notes throughout the meeting and even noting the different people that are speaking. We can then produce the different maps, get them signed off and agreed by customers, and say, this is how we think you've defined you want to work. Do you agree with this as a potential package of solutions? We can then document, this is what we would suggest you do. This is the agent that you might use. This might be the automation that we're going to put in the back end, and a combination of apps, data, analytics, all the different services. And then we can share all this with you so that you can see the different opportunities that you have. Normally, this is tied back to a return on investment of when you do want to deliver the service, when you do want to get the benefits. But yeah, it's all grounded in the way that you work. And we generally do lots of like tips. So customers don't tend to know about Viva Connections or Viva Engage. We can be recommending how they can be part of the solution as we go through the sessions. But they're always fun and engaging. And by the end of it, people are normally quite enthused with, I did not know we could do that. Let's go off and, have a go with this thing. After one of the last ones we did a few weeks ago in London, the customer was just completely over excited and went away and built a load of agents over the next few days. And we kept getting messages saying, I've just done this agent and it's amazing. Can you tell me how to do the flow? Yeah, it's an end-to-end discovery, delivery, support. We can plan it, we can define it, and we can really show you how to get some real value, because it's moved very fast over the last few years, and it's just accelerating.
We've seen this. I do this monthly webinar every month, and trying to fit in the amount of releases that came out of the last month in a 1-hour webinar it's really tricky, right? So we're just giving you the highlights of what's changed. So what we have found has worked quite well in the market is these series of workshops that we conduct with customers. We find out what space they're in, where on that chart that I showed earlier, where they're at, and then which workshop would work best for them. So maybe just talk about the workshop. What you get out of the workshop. Is it a paid for funded workshop? How does the funding work?
So from a funding perspective, Evan might have to jump in. So if the customer qualifies for Copilot funding, it's paid for by Microsoft. Is that correct, Evan?
Yes, so they've got specific guardrails around what you need to have as a company to actually apply for the funding. But Wavenet and Bespoke as partners can check that you are eligible for funding, and then we can do all of the admin to move you along that funding process. So there's not real admin work within Partner Centre for the actual company receiving the funding.
And
just
then
to give you an idea with funding, it's normally for the larger seed companies. So sort of, I think it's about 700-800 users normally is when funding starts kicking in for this kind of things. There are other funding buckets that we can use for some workshops, but you're normally looking at about 500 seats as the sweet spot for most of the funding brackets that you can get. These are available as paid for workshops as well. So we can do that, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot of value out of these workshops. And I think more importantly, and what we've discovered from the workshops that we've been hosting, is we get leadership buy-in, right? And without leadership buy-in, you're not going to get any budgets to do any other programs that you want to run. And it's just any type of progress you're going to make is just going to die without leadership buy-in into it.
Our general rule for the funding, David, is just send the company over. It's really easy for us to check the eligibility for the funding, and Microsoft don't always get it spot on in terms of who does apply and who doesn't. So we're happy just to check any company that think we want some funding, obviously. Just feel free to let us know.
Yeah. So
having worked at having worked at Microsoft, it's not as black and white as like number of seats. Sometimes it's like, oh, they look like they're growing quite quickly, therefore they qualify for the funding. And the funding bucket is full until the end of the Microsoft financial year at the end of June. In July, it will refresh and it will be the next round of funding for something different. So you can use funding now and do like a workshop now. And it's likely after July, it will have been refreshed and you'll be able to do a further workshop. So if people are looking at doing this, obviously speak with your Wavenet team, you then speak with Evan and Co. And we can look at whether it's available. And we've had customers that have done it like last year and they're doing it again because they're accelerating their adoption of AI quite quickly. Sorry, David, I jumped in.
No, that's fine. James, I know you're on the call in the back monitoring the Q&A. Maybe just put in your booking link, and that's how you can find availability in James's calendar that suits up with your availability, and you can book in a 30-minute introduction session, find out exactly where your organization is and what stage in that journey you're at, and we'll find the relevant workshop that will fit in with where you're at and how we can help you. So I think that's pretty much us for today. Andrew, Evan, thank you very much for joining. In the back end, Emily and James, thank you for answering it. I'm just going to check if there's any Q&As in the Q&A section. As I said, we host this webinar every month, and it's designed to give you the highlights of everything happening in AI and modern work over the last month. And I see James has added his booking link there. So if you want to click on that, you can book in a meeting. That looks like there's no questions for us. So, yep, thanks very much for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Perfect. Thanks.